My name is Louis K. McMillan, and I was born in 1897 in rural Allendale, South Carolina, into poverty and segregation. I did not even begin public school until I was 11 years old, but education, once open to me, became my life's pursuit. I attended high school in Washington, D.C., in a program affiliated with Howard University. In 1922, I earned my bachelor's degree in social sciences from Howard. I then went on to Yale University, where I earned a bachelor's in divinity in 1925. Still hungry for knowledge, I traveled abroad and completed a PhD in history and philosophy at the University of Bonn in Germany in 1933. At a time when very few African Americans held doctorates, I was determined to prove that intellectual excellence knew no racial boundary. In 1947, I joined South Carolina State College. Because of segregation laws, the college could only enroll and employ members of the Negro race. For more than 50 years after its founding, it had been unable to hire a full-time faculty member with an earned doctorate until I arrived. I taught history and sometimes German. Students knew me as friendly, perhaps a bit eccentric. I greeted everyone with, "Hi, neighbor." I challenged my students to think critically, even asking them to examine the inscriptions on Confederate monuments in their hometowns. But I believed scholarship required honesty. In 1953, after years of research, I self-published Negro Higher Education in the state of South Carolina. I intended it to be a balanced and scholarly critique of black higher education in my state. Instead, it sparked outrage. I criticized black institutions for accepting mediocrity and white leadership for neglect and discrimination. I wrote what I believed to be the truth, that freedom of thought and speech must guide higher education. Rather than reform, my words brought dismissal. There was no tenure protection. My appeals were ignored. I wrote to the Board of Trustees declaring, "The only language I know is the language of freedom." But I was blacklisted. No historically black college would hire me. My career in higher education was over. I rebuilt my life in Connecticut, teaching high school and serving my community on the Stratford Board of Education. Though exiled from the academic world I loved, I never abandoned my belief in intellectual freedom. I lived convinced that education must never be mere performance. It must be courageous, honest, and free.